Mark PUKITA is a Senate candidate. He's down in Columbus right now in Lewis Center at the ORP State Central Committee where they're going to vote to do endorsements in the primary. He tried to get into that meeting. He was denied by a bouncer that he just looks like a bouncer. This guy's as big as a house. I'm a big guy, so I'm not throwing stones. He's a big guy, though, and this is the guy that you're supposed to check in with to go into the ORP meeting. Now, Mark PUKITA, as an actual candidate for Senate on the ballot in this primary, ought to have access, but this is what went down.
So help me understand this. I've got ballot access as a Republican. I'm on the list with 7 people, and the chairman's not allowing me into the meeting.
You're not on the list to have access into the meeting.
Why is that?
You're not on the list. There's a list of people that have access to the meeting, and you're not one of them.
And what did it take to get on that list?
You're not on the list.
Okay. Are other U.S. Senate candidates going to be in that room?
I do not know who's going to be in that room.
Well, how do you know I'm not on the list if you
don't know
who else is going to be in the room?
I know you're not on the list.
So was I picked out specifically?
I know you're not on the list, Mark.
Okay. Was I picked out specifically, Clay?
Mark, I know you're not on the list.
I hear you. You've said that 3 times.
Well,
how about answering my other question?
I don't know the answer to that other question.
Okay, so I'm a registered Republican candidate, and there are other U.S. Senate candidates that will likely be in that room, and I'm not allowed in the room.
You're not allowed in the room, Mark.
Because Bob Paduchek said so?
You're not allowed in the room, Mark.
Okay. Bob Paduchek said
Why is he not allowed in the room? You're just giving the question. Why is he not allowed in the room?
You guys want to help me out here?
He's a petition. He's got petitions. He's a registered Republican. He's on the ballot.
U.S. Senate candidate, just like everybody else.
He's on the ballot.
But I'm on the ballot, just like everybody else. But the Republican Party, because I don't see eye to eye with their chairman, doesn't want me
in closing out meetings to the public. This is against bylaws, right? The Open Meetings Act. They're violating the Open Meetings Act.
It's going to be visible on Facebook Live, so that's going to satisfy the open public meeting.
I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
I'm worried about being treated differently, being discriminated against by my own party.
Okay. You're not coming in, so I apologize that you feel that way, but you're not coming into the meeting.
You don't need to apologize for my feelings, Clay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
What the hell happened?
Okay, so, yeah, that's a great question, Steve Harvey. What the hell happened? What happened there is 2 problems that I have with that clip that I just played you, and that was a Facebook a live video that was uploaded by Mark PUKITA. He wants everybody to see what's going on down there. There's 2 problems that I have. Number 1, when Mark was told by the bouncer, and again, I don't know who the guy is. He just looks like a doorman at a bar. When he was told, you're not on the list, and Mark said, are the other Republican candidates there in that room, Republican Senate candidates? And he said, I don't know. Well, how can you not know? You have the list. Nobody gets in there unless they're on the list. Can you take a look at the list, please? Tell me if the other candidates are in there. He refused to cooperate. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the open meetings law. He said, well, this is going to be put out on Facebook Live, so that handles the open meetings law. No, it doesn't. That's very different than a public meeting where the public can be in attendance and the public can have a say. The public can indeed have public comment. That's different than putting it on Facebook Live. Again, hiding in darkness is a very Democrat thing to do. Why are the Republicans constantly acting like Democrats? Why is the ORP missing $3 million? Or if not missing, it's perhaps been misappropriated. It's unaccounted for. Why are they not allowing an audit? Why are they 17 days late with their campaign filing report for the last half of 2021? Why are they meeting in essentially what is secret to renominate, or rather re-endorse for nomination as Ohio governor, a man who has governed like a Democrat, who hired a Democrat to make all of his decisions on the pandemic in the year of 2020 and almost all of 2021? Why is the Republican Party allowed to get away with this stuff? And moreover, and more importantly, perhaps, as I said before, why is Bob Paduchek, why are the ORP leadership, why are they allowed to deny freedom of the press? censoring the press, whether it be the Ohio Star, the Ohio Press Network, Dwayne Pullman from WKRC, I believe it is, down in Cincinnati. Why are these reporters not allowed to cover the State Central Committee meeting? Why? We know why. Because this is not an ORP meeting. This might as well be the DRP. It's the the ODP, the Ohio Democrat Party, the way that they are governing. All right. I'm told Mark PUKITA is on the line now, so let's check in with Mark. He is a U.S. Senate candidate. I just played you the video outside of the meeting there down there in Lewis Center as they denied Mark PUKITA access to that State Central Committee meeting. Mark, thanks for calling in. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Bob. How are you?
I'm good. Can you tell me who was the doorman there that you were engaging with in that Facebook video?
That was Clay. I forget his last name. He's part of the Ohio Republican Party.
Okay.
And he was at the Brandenburg Gate there. Wouldn't allow me into the Politburo meeting that's being held here in Lewis Center.
Yeah. That's well described. I think that's pretty analogous to what's going on here. So, I just had Jack Windsor on, and we were talking about press members who have been denied, who have been told directly by Bob Paduchek through Dan Luschek that you are not allowed to have credentials to this meeting because, and I quote, "You're fill in your blank here. The Ohio Star, the Ohio Press Network is fake news, and you're not a real journalist." That's what he has said to the Ohio Star reporters. He said it to Jack Windsor, saying it to a TV reporter down in Columbus. And what do these people all have in common, Mark PUKITA? Well, these people are all reporters whose publications have printed negative things about Bob Paduchek and about the ORP and about $3 million of questionable money and about missing filing deadlines and about their endorsement process. So why in the world is the ORP suddenly the ODP?
I mean, you tell me, Bob. I think what it is actually is they have always been this way. They've gotten away with it, and we've exposed it. Not only me. I mean, my campaign has been a big part of it, but we've had other people who are conservative activists that are just fed up with this. I mean, think about those press entities not being allowed into the room. We complain about the mainstream media. We complain about conservatives not getting, a fair shake in the press.
Right. We
have these organizations that have sprung up that are trying to do that. And Bob Paduchek, the head of the party that has been doing the complaining about this, shuts them out and shut me out. Specifically, I was told, as you heard on that video, the chairman does not have you on the list. I mean, this is we talk about the country slipping into socialism and communism. Bob Paduchek is helping drive it that way.
Well, yeah, I completely concur. Now, the press is one thing. You, as a candidate on the ballot, is another. Did you ever confirm, or were you unable to, the presence of other Senate candidates in that room?
I am not able to confirm that.
I find it very interesting when you asked him
they were
why
allowed.
you could. Yeah, I was going to say, when you asked him why you couldn't go in, and he said, you're not on the list, and you said, are the other ones in there? He goes, I don't know. Well, why don't you look at the list? If the only people who are in there are the ones that are on the list, look at the clipboard in your hands and tell me if they're on the list, because the odds are obviously very strong that they are in there, and they're okay with that because those individuals are not causing problems for Bob Paduchek the way you are.
Right. And it's not like we're just trying to cause problems, Bob. We're trying to get some transparency and honesty and have a character revolution, if you will, in the Ohio Republican Party.
Well, Mark, with all due respect, that causes problems, doesn't it? And that's what, no, I mean, I'm not trying to be smart aleck about it. I mean, literally, what you're trying to do is right. You're trying to make sure there is transparency in what the ORP is doing. You're trying to make sure that, the funds are accounted for. Your offer to pay for an independent audit of the books to make sure everything is on the up and up so that the vast majority of my listening audience, which are registered Republicans and conservatives, so that we can have some faith that our representation in Columbus is doing things the right way. That's what we ask for. That's what we demand, quite frankly. You're trying to make that happen, and that causes problems for them because obviously they're not doing things the right way.
Yeah, they certainly are not. it's stunning to me how rigged and manipulated everything is in the Ohio Republican Party. And if grassroots Republicans who still believe that party is working in their best interest and there's some kind of brain trust selecting candidates and grooming them and grilling them and helping them to get better, nothing would be further from the truth. It's all about insiders. It's all about quid pro quos. It's all about back scratching and money. And it disgusts me, and it's got to stop.
I know a few members. We're talking to Mark PUKITA. Mark is down there being active. He is a Senate candidate. Mark, would you describe yourself as a long shot candidate simply because of funds available and polling right now? I don't want to say that in a dismissive or in an insulting way, but you're a long shot candidate as far as from where I can see it. And
right.
You're out there putting yourself on the line to do what's right for the people. And I don't
right.
know if it's going to have an impact on the campaign or not, but you're out there as a candidate, and I'm just kind of wondering why there aren't more elected officials or candidates for elected office who aren't out there doing what you're doing, and that is saying we've got to be transparent here. We've got to make sure the ORP is on the up and up because that's what our voters deserve.
Yeah, nobody else will talk about it in the Senate race, and that's because I believe they're not truly fighters. They don't want to take on the ORP because they're afraid of what will happen, just like I was shut out of the meeting.
Right.
Like Martin Luther King said, you've got to stand up against just laws, or in this case, unjust laws. And in this case, unjust behaviors by the Ohio Republican Party. But you have to be willing to take the consequences, which is exactly what he said. You've got to be willing to go to jail like he did. And the other thing I think about quite a bit, Bob, is, they're on the outside, right? But I think they so want to be on the inside. So while they'll be complaining about endorsements when the endorsements don't go in their favor, they're for endorsements when the endorsements do go in their favor. And that's the kind of hypocrisy we've got to flush out of the party.
I completely agree. And by the way, I am not issuing an endorsement in this race, but I will tell you that you have my deep respect for being out there and doing this. I don't know if anybody else. No, I mean that, and I don't know if anybody else who are one of the more name candidates with the deepest pockets and the big ad campaigns and so on and so forth. I don't know if they would be doing this if they were denied entry into the ORP meeting. Maybe they would. I don't know. But all I know is you are standing up for the right way, not just for your own self-interest, but for, like I said, the rights of the people. Now, what I started to ask you before I chased that rabbit down the hole is, I know some state central committee members. Not a ton. I don't know who you know or how many, but from the ones that I have talked to, there is a growing movement within the state central committee to try to overtake with the majority vote the
right.
likes of which, that Bob Paduchek represents there, that they are not happy. They're just as angry with what's going on as you. They don't want this to happen. They don't want to be issuing endorsements in this primary. And they want the press to have access. They want the candidates to have access. They don't like what they want that money resolved. They don't like the way Paduchek is leading it or the way Timken led it. But I don't know if there's enough of them. Do you know, Mark, any more than I do about, the inner workings of that committee?
So here's what I would tell you. There are three factions, right? There is the faction of what Bob Paduchek calls malcontents, and those are the people that are speaking out and taking the heat and are on the complaint that's been filed and things like that. Mm-hmm. Then there are the DeWine, what I'd call the DeWine cult members who are, they have no problem doing anything. The means justify, the end justifies the means. And then there are people in the middle, and it's just like our country. It's kind of like a microcosm of our country. There are people in the middle that I believe are afraid to speak up because they'll be maligned by other people. So in the committee. So I think we saw a vote last time, and it was so close on a voice vote that they had to have people stand up. And I want to say we were within, 9 to 10 votes of that vote having gone the other way, if a few people had, gotten the courage to stand up and do it. So I do think that there is a faction there that can be persuaded, but more importantly, they're going to be pushed because we've got I don't know, 25 to 30 candidates for state central committee who are citizen candidates that our campaign and a number of other groups are working with to get them name recognition, to help them campaign, and to get them out there. So not only are we putting pressure on the people who are currently in those seats, but we replace those people with people who do want the transparency, the financial integrity, and the lack of the rigging and the manipulating with primary endorsements.
It's a shame that we sit here with those individuals who are, afraid because they've been bullied. They've been bullied. They've been intimidated by the powerful segment of that trifecta that you're talking about here, and that's a shame. Yep. Because again, this is why I go on the radio every day, and I have been doing so for a couple of decades now. When I talk politics and I talk about Democrats being demon rats, this is very demon rat-y, and it's a shame to see it happening in our state, and it's going to result in the wrong people being elected, and all they care about is trumpeting, we won. Who did you win with? What good is it doing the people? Doesn't matter. We got a Republican elected. We got a Republican supermajority in the House and in the Senate. We're doing a great job as the ORP. But you're electing people who are not doing the will of the Ohio people who put them there, the Ohio Republican voters. And that's the shame of it all. They control all of it, and the bullies that they are unwilling to allow, the will of the people to be done. And that's
right. Could we call them swamp rhino rats?
I'm down with it. Sure. Find a name.
Swamp rhino rats.
Demon rats is easy because you just change one letter. You change one letter from Democrat to get demon rat. So it's a little harder to find the right name for the Republicans who act like this, but I'll take whatever you got, Mark. And Mark, I appreciate you. And, I hate saying this, by the way. I'm a Republican. I'm a registered Republican.
I know.
The only reason I stay a registered Republican. Yeah, the only reason I stay one is so I can vote in these primaries and get the right people, even, fighting back against people like Bob Paduchek and the things that they're doing. But the reality is, and I asked this question of Jack Windsor before and the other day, I said, where do conservative Ohioans go? We can't go to the Democrat Party. And we can't go to the Republican Party because there's no conservative leadership there. There's no true moral, integrity-driven leadership in the Ohio Republican Party. So we're homeless. Conservative Ohioans are homeless because neither party will be there and stand up for them, and that's the most frustrating thing of all.
Yeah, and a third party isn't the answer. You and I both know a third party is not the answer. So we've got to rebuild this plane while we're flying it. There's no other alternative. It's like the United States being the last bastion of freedom for people. There's nowhere to go if we're taken over by socialists or communists. There is no other place to go in the country or in the world. And I think for us, there's no other party to go to. We have to fix the Republican Party.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mark PUKITA, one thing I love about you know how to turn a phrase. That's great imagery right there, fixing the plane while we're flying it. That's exactly what we have to do because the alternative is, of course, we're going to crash and burn. Mark, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Keep me posted. Let me know how the rest of it goes today. If you find anything else out or if you have any other confrontations,
I'll do that.
Let us know what you're doing. Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Mark PUKITA, Senate candidate down there in Columbus, doing it, fighting. He's making a fight. Some may be critical and say, yeah, it's just a campaign stunt. Because as I said, he's a long shot. He doesn't have the money of the other ones. He doesn't have the name recognition a lot of the other ones in this race. He's trying to pull a stunt. I don't think it is. I don't. I do not see it as a campaign stunt. I hear sincerity and I hear passion in his voice. He's down there because the ORP is it's destroying the state. Dare I say, it's destroying the state. Does that mean I'll support the Democrat Party? Absolutely not. But I want this party fixed. I'll be right back.